almost all of my friends are reading a lot less romance now than they used to. And I think it's because it's been widely discussed that there is a craft problem in romance. A lot of stories that are published that are bloated, uninteresting, unfunny, uncomplicated, saccharine, on and on and on. And I'm speaking in massive, broad, sweeping generalizations, right? There are beautiful romance novels that have come out in the last year and that I've talked about on here even. But in large part, a lot of the people in my life are finding themselves to be quite unsatisfied with what is being published right now. And this weekend, I was at a historical romance reading retreat with Bad Bitch Book Club, and it pieced together this thing that I've just been sitting with a lot, which is that writers who read historical romance understand stakes, plot, character, pacing better than writers who don't read historical romance. And I actually think that this is something that goes for readers too. Readers who read historical romance have a better understanding of romance as a genre than readers who don't. And it's because these historical romances, especially backlist historical romances, I'm talking about Sherry Thomas's work, Cecilia Grant, Anne Mallory, Laura Kinsale, Beverly Jenkins, Jeannie Lynn, even more recent writers like Alice Coltbreath and Elizabeth Kingston and Courtney Milan, and on and on and on and on. This is a non-exhaustive list of a massive and underappreciated subgenre of romance, right? These are writers who, more often than not, were writing tremendous works of fiction that fit in under 90,000 words, probably even less, 70 to 75,000 words. They were writing immaculately plotted, beautifully crafted novels with thoughtful character work, propulsive energy, real stakes, real tension, real yearning, and climactic structure that actually took your breath away, that made you feel like, oh my God, how is she going to pull this off? How are they possibly going to be happily ever after? These novels are so special, and understanding them helps you understand romance better. Not to mention, they are just a pleasant reading experience on their own. And it solves all of the problems that we see in particular, I think, romantasy and contemporary romance these days. The dialogue had to be witty. The dialogue had to be sharp. It had to be funny. It had to be thoughtful and intense and layered. The character work had to start on page 1, line 1, word 1. The structure and the pacing had to make you feel like you were flying by the seat of your pants. I'm thinking about what it felt like to read Lord of Scoundrels for the first time. I'm thinking about what it felt like to read Ravishing the Heiress by Sherry Thomas for the first time. One Night is Never Enough by Anne Mallory for the first time. And on and on and on, right? These are books that remade my brain chemistry. And spending this weekend thinking about it with other people who similarly love historical romance has just made me all the more upset about the fact that new historicals aren't really being acquired. Obviously the craft issues in romance are happening because of multifold reasons. It's not just because everyone's reading the wrong thing and I'm reading the right thing or whatever it is. It's also the fact that commercial pressures in romance are stronger than ever. The fact that publishers are not investing in editorial nearly as much as they used to. The fact that they don't know how to sell and market romance novels published by people of color. The fact that there are fewer opportunities to truly hone your craft as a romance writer because big organizations like Romance Writers of America no longer exist. Because people are more puritanical than ever and have deep suspicion towards romance, because most of Kindle Unlimited is infiltrated by AI slop, and finding genuinely gifted writers in the slush pile is growing harder and harder and harder by the minute. The fact that indie writers who are really gifted have a discoverability problem. The fact that people seem to see feminist progress as linear and see historical romance as an object and artifact of the past rather than incredibly presently relevant. On and on and on, right? I could talk about this forever and ever. There are many reasons why romance has a craft problem, but I think that we do ourselves a disservice as readers, content creators, whatever you want to call yourself, by not investing in backlist historical romance, because that is a place where really beautiful work has been produced. And I understand why we don't talk about them more often. I don't doubt that most of the authors that I just named are completely unfamiliar to probably most of the people who will see this video. Though if you follow me, maybe there's already a bias there. But The reality is that, like, there are commercial incentives to hold up the shiniest, newest title, the shiniest, newest book, the brand spanking new romance novel that is front list at Barnes & Noble, or front table at Barnes & Noble. But we do ourselves a disservice. It's funny because some of my friends on here who are primarily fantasy and sci-fi readers are making their inroad into romance via historical romance as of the last couple of months, like reading Jeannie Lynn and Cecilia Grant and, you know, so on and so forth. And they're really, really, really enjoying it. And I feel like that also sort of lends credence to my theory that, like, romance would be better if everybody read more historical romance. And I am really excited about the prospect of not always being the youngest person in a room who reads and loves historical, which is unfortunately often the case for me. But the gist of it is, read historical romance. It will be good for you. It will make you smarter. And also it's really sexy and fun. And, like, it's the stuff that this genre was built on top of, and we owe it due credit.